Hello everybody, this is Refresh, and I'm here to bring you a battle between these two War of the Spark sealed decks and the Face the Hydra challenge deck from Theros. We'll be playing with 3 hero cards. I only have 1 of each hero card, so I am going to be splitting the Harvester between the 2 decks, and they will both use its powers. It says tap, draw a card, then discard a card. We'll be giving the Gruul deck on the left here, the Warrior, which says tap, target creature you control gains haste until end of turn. And then we'll be giving the Rakdos deck on the right, the Avenger, which says 3, tap, target creature you control gains death touch until end of turn. We'll be playing against the challenge deck in normal difficulty with 3 Hydra heads, and then we'll be back for hard mode with 4 Hydra heads. We'll start with 7 cards apiece and see how it goes. Gruul draws a Jaya's Greeting, a Crunch Wrangler, a Jaya's Greeting, a Primordial Worm, a Mountain, and a Mountain. Well, we can't really cast any of our permanents with the mountains that we have, so I don't think we can keep this. However, because this is a multiplayer game, we will get 1 free mulligan, so we will take it. Gruul's second hand is a Forest, Band Together, Jaya's Greeting, Chain Whip Cyclops, Chandra's Pyrohelix, and a Primordial Worm. Again, this is nothing that we can cast in terms of permanents early, and so we can't really keep this. We're going to ship this back and hope that a 6-card hand will be better. Our next hand has a Mountain, a Centaur Nurturer, a Burning Prophet, a Forest, and Chandra's Pyrohelix. I think we keep this hand because at the very least we have 2 cards that we can cast, and the Pyrohelix will be put at the bottom of the deck. Rakdos draws a Widespread Brutality, a Swamp, a Mountain, a Swamp, a Dusk Mantle Operative, and a Massacre Girl. This is not an ideal hand, but it is not a bad one either, so we will keep this. Alright, turn 1 we will play a Mountain over here, and we'll play a Swamp over here. And then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Swallow the Hero Whole. Each player exiles a creature he or she controls. That doesn't happen because there are no creatures, so this will have no effect. We'll take 3 damage from the assembled heads to go down to 17 each. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a Mountain and will discard the Mountain. Rakdos will draw a Mountain, and we will discard a Swamp. And then we'll untap. Gruul will draw a Mountain, we'll play the Forest, we'll tap the Mountain and the Forest, and we'll play the Burning Prophet. It is a 1/3 human wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Burning Prophet gains +1/+0 until end of turn, and then scry 1. Rakdos will play a Mountain, will tap both, and play the Dusk Mantle Operative. It is a 2/2 human rogue. Dusk Mantle Operative can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater. There's no point in attacking right now because we can't kill anything, and so we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card. It is Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrificed a creature this way chooses the head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature loses 3 life. We only have 1 creature each, and I don't feel like we're in a place where we can quite sacrifice it yet, so we will choose to lose 3 life, plus an additional 3 life from the assembled heads, take 6 damage apiece, taking us to 11 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a Mountain and discard that Mountain. Rakdos will draw a Ob Nixilis' Cruelty, and we will discard the Ob Nixilis' Cruelty. And then we'll untap. Gruul will draw a Crunch Wrangler, and Rakdos will draw a Swamp. We'll play the Mountain, we'll play the Forest, and then we will attack one of the Hydra heads with the Burning Prophet and the Dusk Mantle Operative, and that will be doing a total of 3 damage, killing that Hydra head. The Hydra head has a Hero's Reward. When Hydra head leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. So we'll gain 2 life apiece to go up to 13 each. And then we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is 1 new head. It is a Snapping Fang head. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, Snapping Fang head deals 1 damage to each player. So this will deal us a lot of additional damage. And then we will go to our second main phase. Gruul will cast the Crunch Wrangler. It is a 2/1 human warrior. Trample. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Crunch Wrangler. Rakdos has nothing to cast, so they will just stay put. Then we'll go to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Nectangle. If there are 5 or more heads on the battlefield, there are not. Otherwise, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library, and the Hydra casts that card. So we'll cast the next card instead. It is Hydra Head. We'll be taking 3, 4, 5, 6 damage this turn to go to 7. And then we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a forest and will discard that forest. Rakdos will draw a Nahiri Storm of Stone, and we will discard Nahiri Storm of Stone. And then we'll untap. And then we'll draw. Gruul draws a Raging Crunch, and Rakdos draws a Cyclops Electromancer. We'll play a swamp over here. We'll play a mountain over here. We will tap 3 mana over here and play the Raging Crunch. It is a 4/3 beast. Raging Crunch can't attack alone. The Crunch Wrangler will trigger and will get a +1/+1 counter. And then we will attack. The Crunch Wrangler will attack one of the Hydra heads. The Dusk Mantle Operative will attack the Snapping Fang head, and then we'll use the Avenger with 3 mana to give it Death Touch until end of turn. And then that will kill both of these. We'll gain a total of 6 life, and the Snapping Fang head also causes each player to draw a card. That'll take us up to 13 each, and we will draw a card each. Gruul draws a Snare Spinner. Rakdos draws a Dread Horde Twins. And then we will reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are 2 new heads, a Ravenous Brute head and a Shrieking Titan head. The Shrieking Titan head says, at the beginning of the Hydra's end step, each player discards a card, so we're going to start losing cards here. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Hydra's Impenetrable Hide. Each head gains indestructible until the end of the Hydra's next turn. So we can't even do anything about these heads this next turn. We're going to be taking a total of 6 damage, but first we must discard a card each. We will discard the Snare Spinner over here, and we will discard the Widespread Brutality over here. We'll take 6 damage to go to 7 each, and then we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a Challenger Troll, and we will discard the Centaur Nurturer. Rakdos will draw a Mountain, and we will discard the Mountain. And then we'll untap. And then we'll draw. Gruul draws a Spellgorger Weird. Rakdos draws a Swamp. We'll play the Swamp. We'll play the Mountain. We can't remove any of the heads this turn, and so we are just going to try to build up our board state. What we will do is we will spend 5 mana over here. We'll cast the Challenger Troll. When it enters the battlefield, the Crunch Wrangler will gain a counter. And then over here, we'll spend 4 mana, and we will cast the Dread Horde Twins. It is a 2/2 zombie Jackal Warrior, and when Dread Horde Twins enters the battlefield, we'll amass 2. That means that we'll put the zombie army on the battlefield, and we'll put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. The Challenger Troll, by the way, is a troll that's 6/5, and each creature you control with power 4 or greater can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. That doesn't really matter that much in this particular game. And then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. We have to hope that we survive, and there is a chance that we don't. We'll play the topmost card, which is Strike the Weak Spot, destroy target head. If that head was elite, the Hydra takes an extra turn after this one. We can't let the Hydra take an extra turn because that will kill us. So we actually have to kill the regular Hydra head, which will give us 2 life apiece to take us to 9 each. And then we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads. And then the Hydra will force us to discard a card each. So we'll discard the Spellgorger Weird, and we will discard the Swamp. And then we will take 5 damage from the remaining heads to go to 4 apiece. And then we'll go to our turn. We'll untap. We'll draw. Gruul draws a Raging Crunch, and Rakdos draws a Mountain. We'll play the Mountain over here, and then we will cast the Raging Crunch over here, which will cause the Crunch Wrangler to gain a counter. And then we will tap the Warrior to give the Raging Crunch haste, and we'll attack with both of the Raging Crunches, attacking the Shrieking Titan head. We'll attack with the Challenger Troll, attacking the Ravenous Brute head, and we will go in with the Crunch Wrangler on the regular Hydra head. That should kill them all. We destroy all the heads and gain a total of 8 life and draw 2 cards. That'll take us up to 12. We'll draw 2 cards each. Gruul draws a Giant Growth and a Mobilized District. Rakdos draws a Mountain and a Bleeding Edge. We will play the Mobilized District over here, and then we will reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are 3 new heads, a Ravenous Brute head and 2 regular Hydra heads. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Grown from the Stump. Put exactly 2 cards named Hydra head onto the battlefield from the Hydra's graveyard. There are 2 heads here. The assembled heads will deal us 6 damage to take us down to 6 each. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a Centaur Nurture and discard the Giant Growth. Rakdos will draw a Mountain and discard the Mountain. And then we'll untap. We'll draw. Gruul draws a Forest, and Rakdos draws an Angrath's Rampage. We'll play the Mountain over here. We'll play the Forest over here. And then we will attack the Ravenous Brute head with the Challenger Troll. We will attack Hydra heads, each with Raging Crunch, 1 more with the Crunch Wrangler, and the last one will be attacked by the Dustmantle Operative and the Dreadhorde twins, and that should kill everything. That gets us 10 life and 1 card, taking us up to 16. We draw a Courage and Crisis over here, and a Jaya's Greeting over here. We will reveal 10 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are 2 new heads. We'll spend 4 mana over here, and we will cast Centaur Nurture. It is a 2/4 Centaur Druid. When Centaur Nurture enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. That'll take Gruul up to 19. Over here, we'll spend 2 mana and cast Angrath's Rampage, forcing the Hydra to sacrifice a creature. That'll be the Hydra head. That'll gain us 2 life apiece to go to 21 and 18 each. And then we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads. And then we will spend 5 more mana to cast the Cyclops Electromancer. This is a 4/2 Cyclops Wizard. It says when Cyclops Electromancer enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to target creature an opponent controls, where X is the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. We just cast this, so there are 3 instants and sorceries in the graveyard, and so we'll deal 3 damage to this Hydra head. We'll gain 2 more life to go up to 23 and 20, and then we'll reveal 2 more cards to see if there are any new heads. There is 1 new head. And then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Torn Between Heads. Tap up to 2 heads, they don't untap. The Hydra's next untap step, Torn Between Heads, deals 5 damage to each player. We'll take 5 damage each to take us to 18 and 15 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a Kiora, Behemoth, and Beckner, and will discard Courage and Crisis. Rakdos will draw a Tidebearer Giant, and we will discard the Jaya's Greeting. And then we will untap. And then we'll draw. Gruul draws a Jaya's Greeting, and Rakdos draws a Spellgorger Weird. We'll just have some fun since we seem to be driving this game now. So we'll cast the Bleeding Edge over here, targeting the Hydra head. It says up to 1 target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, and amass 2. So this is now a 0/1. We'll amass 2, making this a 4/4. And then we will play Kiora Behemoth Beckner, which is a 7 loyalty legendary planeswalker Kiora. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield, draw a card. And because we cast a non-creature spell, the Burning Prophet gets +2/+0 and scries 1. We put this Forest on the bottom. And then we'll attack with the Burning Prophet to finish off this Hydra head, which finishes it off. We'll gain 2 life apiece to go to 20 and 17 respectively. And then we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads, and so the War of the Spark sealed decks win this game. We'll be right back with hard mode. We are back for game 2 with 4 Hydra heads. We'll begin with 7 cards apiece. Gruul draws a Forest, a Crunch Wrangler, a Primordial Worm, a Snare Spinner, a Forest, and an Invading Mana Core. We don't have red mana, but we have plenty of things that we can cast with just green, and so we will keep this hand. Rakdos draws a mountain, a swamp, a mountain, a grim initiate, a bleeding edge, herald of the dread horde, and a swamp. I don't think it's an amazing hand, but it is a keepable one, so we will do so. Turn 1, we will play a forest over here, and we'll play a mountain over here, and then tap the mountain and play a grim initiate, and then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is a Ravenous Brute head. We'll be taking 6 damage from the assembled heads to go down to 14 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a Snare Spinner and discard the Snare Spinner. Rakdos will draw a Bond of Revival, and we will discard the Bond of Revival. And then we will untap. We'll draw. Gruul draws a mountain. Rakdos draws a mountain. We'll play the swamp over here, and we'll play the mountain over here. We'll tap both of these and play the Crunch Wrangler over here. By the way, the Grim Initiate is a 1/1 zombie warrior with first strike, and when it dies, amass 1. Alright, we'll use the warrior to give the Crunch Wrangler haste, and we'll attack one of the Hydra heads with the Grim Initiate and the Crunch Wrangler to deal 3 damage, first strike and then regular damage. Finishing it off, we'll gain 2 life each to go up to 16 apiece. And then we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a Hydra head. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Noxious Hydra Breath. Choose 1. Noxious Hydra Breath deals 5 damage to each player, or destroy each tapped non-head creature. This is troublesome. I think we actually destroy the creatures because we'll get a replacement over here, and hopefully we can get into something better over here. So we'll destroy the creatures, and then the Grim Initiate will cause a zombie token with 1 counter to appear, amassed, and then we'll take 6 damage from the assembled heads to go down to 10 apiece. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a mountain, and we will discard a forest. Rakdos will draw a mountain, and we will discard a mountain. Then we'll untap. We'll draw. Gruul draws a Jaya's Greeting. Rakdos draws a Nahiri Storm of Stone. We'll play a mountain over here. We'll play a swamp over here and a forest over here. We will tap the forest and the mountain over here to play a Snare Spinner, which is a 1/3 spider with reach. Whenever Snare Spinner blocks a creature with flying, Snare Spinner gets +2/+0 until end of turn. That's not going to matter too much, it's just a 1/3. And then we're going to do something interesting. We are going to spend 3 mana over here to cast Bleeding Edge, which will give -2/-2 to one of the Hydra heads, and then we'll amass 2, which makes this a 3/3. So we have a 0/1 head here, which we will give the Snare Spinner haste to and attack with, and then we have a 0/3, which we will attack with the zombie army, killing them both, getting us 4 life apiece, taking us up to 14 each. And then we'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads. And then we will pass to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Disorienting Glower. Players can't cast spells until the Hydra's next turn. We'll just put this right here to remind us that we can't cast spells. We'll take 4 damage from the assembled heads to go back down to 10 apiece. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a Chain Whip Cyclops, and we will discard the Jaya's Greeting. Rakdos will draw a mountain and discard that mountain, and then we'll untap. We'll draw. Gruul will draw a Jaya's Greeting. Rakdos will draw a swamp. We'll play the mountain. We'll play the mountain over here. We cannot cast any spells, so we're just going to be attacking. We'll actually use the Avenger over here then, since we can't cast anything. To give the zombie army Death Touch, we'll attack the Ravenous Brute head over here. We won't attack with the Snare Spinner because it can't kill anything by itself. And that will kill the Ravenous Brute head. We'll gain 2 life and draw a card. So we'll go up to 12 each. And then Gruul will draw a forest, and Rakdos will draw a mountain. And then we will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Unified Lunge. It deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. There are 2, so we'll take 2 damage each, and then another 2 damage from the 2 heads to go down to 8 each. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Gruul will draw a forest, and we will discard the Jaya's Greeting. Rakdos will draw a Nahiri Storm of Stone and discard the Nahiri Storm of Stone. And then we'll untap. And then we'll draw. Gruul draws a Courage in Crisis. Rakdos draws a Burning Prophet. We will play a Swamp over here and a Forest over here. We forgot to untap this guy. And then we will spend 5 mana over here to cast the Chain Whip Cyclops, which is a 4/4 Cyclops Warrior. And for 3 in a red mana, target creature can't block this turn. That text really doesn't matter for this. We'll use the Warrior to give it haste, and then we'll attack the Hydra heads with the Chain Whip Cyclops and the Zombie Army, killing them both, getting us 4 life each to go up to 12 apiece. And then we will reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There's 1 new head. We will, on the second main phase, spend 4 mana over here and cast Herald of the Dread Horde. It is a 3/2 zombie warrior. When Herald of the Dread Horde dies, amass 2. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra, who will cast the topmost card, which is Nectangle. If there are 5 or more heads on the battlefield, nope. Otherwise, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library and the Hydra casts that card. Strike the weak spot, destroy target head. If that head was elite, the Hydra takes an extra turn. There's only 1 head to target. We'll destroy this. We'll gain 2 life apiece to go up to 14 each. And we will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are 2 new heads. And then we will take 3 damage from those heads to go back down to 11 each. And then we'll use the Harvester. Gruul draws a Centaur Nurturer, and we will discard the Courage in Crisis. Rakdos draws in Obnixilus's Cruelty, and we will discard the Mountain. And then we'll untap. And then we'll draw. Gruul draws a Mountain. Rakdos draws a Mountain. We'll play a Mountain over here. We'll play a Mountain over here. We will tap all 6 men over here and cast the Primordial Worm. It is a 7/6 worm. We'll tap with the Warrior to give it haste. And then we will just go and attack the Ravenous Brute head with the Primordial Worm and the Hydra head with the Zombie Army, killing them both. We'll gain 4 life apiece to go up to 15 each. And we'll draw a card each. Gruul draws a Mobilized District, and Rakdos draws an Obnixilus's Cruelty. And then we will reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads, and so the War of the Spark sealed decks have defeated the Hydra. Let me know what your thoughts were about the games in the comments below. If I made any rules and or play errors, also let me know so that I might learn from your wisdom. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit subscribe. Next time, I'll be pitting these 2 decks up against the Battle of the Horde challenge deck from Born of the Gods. Until then, this was Refresh, and thanks for watching.